Hello and welcome to Get on the Arc. And I am here with CJ from the Spark News. And CJ and I, we actually connected. We actually met at the Believers Summit in West Palm, and we were connected by mutual friends. You know, Anna Kane and Nicole Orozco from the Flame, and you have a local newspaper in Florida. So welcome, CJ.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to have. Thank you. Glad to be here. I think it's a great day to be kind of meeting up and doing this. A couple of days after we won the election, and just amazing results in this country. This country really came out, and I'm so glad to be part of the Flame News Network and the our podcast, the Spark.
And you know, you've introduced me to a lot of people and kind of connecting me to a lot of people, but you got a gentleman from Kenya that we're about to introduce. So go ahead and tell us how you guys met, and go ahead and introduce him.
Yeah, so it's a funny story. I was kind of in some spaces on looking up some kind of globalist issues and some how the world's kind of dealing with some globalism problems, like the Biden administration was giving to us, and some similar things going over there in Kenya. So I was on some X spaces and I saw how active these Kenyan people are in their country for kind of anti-globalist you know work. So I saw this guy. Kenya forever, McKelvey Kenya, and kind of we just started, hitting it off and getting to know him, and then crazy, a lot of things happened, and here we are, end of the year, and he's got a Kenyans for Trump group now, a couple hundred people strong, I believe. So he's doing great work over there in his country, and for Trump as well. So yeah.
Well, welcome to the show. It's our first guest from Kenya, and welcome, Kali, Kenyans for Trump. What's up, brother?
Okay, thank you, Darren, and thank you, CJ. I'm Kali. On Twitter, people call me Mkenya Daima. Daima means forever. Mkenya means a Kenyan, so it's Kenyan forever. So we met with CJ on the Twitter Spaces, the X, what is now called the X, and we got to interact and was like, okay, how is it like over there in Kenya? And we were having what we are calling like a Gen Z revolution. If you can remember, a while ago, Kenyans were on the streets. I think it was on the news and everything. So when we met, it's the same time that the elections were happening, and most of the things that were happening, they are things that are affecting us, and that's why you hear a group called Kenyans for Trump, and basically it was to show the Americans that whatever is happening in the America is affecting us, especially on the globalist ideas that have been affecting us. Some of the issues were the issues that were taking us to the streets. So that was why we had to form our group, and there are many Kenyans who are for pro-Trump. I believe most of the Kenyans are for pro-Trump, and it was based on the values that Trump were pushing, and there are things that were affecting us directly. That if you look at what has been happening in the Kenyan soil, the globalists trying to push the ideas of food sovereignty, the aspect of GMO, which is something that we are somehow against. You've seen on the news. Someone like Billy Gates, who we Kenyans we believe is part of the globalist, and when we were like, we want to stand where everything will be based on what will protect the future of Kenyans, because whatever happens to America, it also trickles down to us as Kenyans. So the reason why most of the Kenyans have been aligning with Trump, we've been pushing for the. We might not be voting in the American. We may not be voting in America, but we wanted to show the world that this is where Kenya stands, and we stand to gain more when Trump is in the office.
Awesome. So it's pretty important then. That's why you guys are supporting Donald Trump's presidency. How did you guys feel after the election, or how were you on election night? Did you watch the election?
If you look on our social media pages, we were all different. I've never been to US, but you could see I was updating. I was on the Google looking at all the polls where, especially on the swing states, I was more concerned on like Pennsylvania, how things were going. I was really concerned about that. And for us was like, it was intense. Everyone can tell you it was really intense for us. It was really intense. And, I was getting the news from the AP, and sometimes they would be so slow. At some point, they would show like Kamala is really pushing the bar, especially for us who are getting the news from AP. And uh, it felt like our own elections. It felt like our own election, whereby we are really vouching for Trump to win, and we invested most of our emotions. When you go through our social media, we were updating especially my social media. I was update the whole night. I didn't sleep because the whole 24 hours since the voting started. And you remember there was a podcast by Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. So I had to go through that while we are waiting for the election, then the election day, and then the results started streaming, and it was pretty intense for us who are supporters of Trump in Kenya.
What was the reaction when they called the election and you knew Donald Trump was the clear winner? What was the reaction in Kenya?
Immediately, if when you go to the social medias of Kenya, first we started by celebrating, and we were like, Trump is in, and now there are things that we wish Trump could do for us as Kenyans, because we wanted Trump to recall we want Trump to recall the ambassador of Kenya, ambassador of the US in the country. So when you go and write hashtag recall Meg Whitman, you will see most of the Kenyans have been pushing for that. Immediately Trump got in, because it was like we were really waiting for this moment. We weren't so sure if Kamala Harris won. We were not confident with Kamala Harris because of the interaction with the government. And remember, there has been a lot of abductions that are happening in the country, and the US ambassador is so comfortable with that. And that has been something that we were like, no, we really needed Trump to win, because Trump is against all these ideas. Trump is for freedom of speech. In Kenya right now, there has been that aspect of there is no freedom of speech, because people have been abducted for saying what is happening on the current governance. And the US ambassador has been more of in the Kenyan politics. He is not interested in representing the values of free speech in the country. And immediately you can see there is an hashtag on Twitter called Recall Meg Whitman. So it was a win for us. It felt like it's a win for the Americans, but it's a bigger win for us.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a really big win for you guys. I mean, you could almost say that we actually have had a Kenyan president in the United States for 8 years. It's actually a fact, and that's when things started to go downhill for us. And I think things actually kind of went downhill for you guys a little bit at that time period started to happen as well. But Obama is actually a Kenyan. And he's in it for more intensive purposes. He's almost been president for 12 years with Biden, and we get a new chance to kind of start things up. I guess Ruto hasn't reached out to Trump yet. Most world leaders have. Is that accurate?
Yeah, they think they did that. And before even our president Ruto was able even to write our congratulations, as Kenyans, we had poured our congratulation messages, because one, we want Bill Gates out of the country because of the things that he is doing currently in the country, the Kenyan country, and also Meg Whitman, the ambassador of the US to Kenya. We also want out of the country. So we immediately started by that and saying, telling Trump to go after likes of Bill Gates, because it's really affecting us, especially on our agriculture in the country.
So when we talk about a Trump freedom or Trump election, his victory, imposes a freedom in the United States, but it gives a freedom in the world. It defeats the globalists, the new world order takeover. We beat the globalists, right? So it's a significant victory for your country. So congratulations.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it is because you see, some of the things that have been taking us to the streets right now, it's on the agriculture in the country, whereby there are bills that are being introduced whereby they want to take our lands, especially the globalists. They want to take our lands, our farming lands. They want us to be able to even to get licenses just to do basic farming that we've been doing. And when you look at our economies, we basically a poor country. So we can't depend on GMOs. We can't depend on, because we have our indigenous seeds that we grow. And what they are trying to introduce is we can't be able to grow our own seeds. They want to give us seeds that can't really grow. You see, so, and now they're also trying to introduce such bills into the Kenyan system. And when we look at all these bills, they are coming from likes of Bill Gates. And if you look at like 2 weeks ago, Bill Gates was requested to be granted immunity in the country, in Kenya. So that has an impact on us. So now that Trump has won, we've won the globalist. We've won the war with the globalist, because we can easily go hard on them. But with Kamala, we were afraid that these are the same ideas that Kamala has been pushing. It's the idea of being woke. Because when you look at some of the things that they are passing, some of the laws that they are passing, it's to destabilize the family unit, which is again a globalist idea. So, and Kenya is being used like a laboratory to test those ideas. So it really affects us on the side.
Wow. So Kali, tell us a little bit about your faith walk. Like, when did you meet God?
I've grown up in a Christian family. And moved to Austria after my undergraduate, where I did my master's in Austria as well. So it's been a journey of walking through different faiths, from being a Protestant and moving to a Catholic nation, which is more of Catholic. So I've been able to be in both sides, being on the Protestant side and being a Catholic when I was in Austria until I came back in the country. Now, as I've been a Protestant again, so it wasn't really a switch. It was more of what was nearer to me, and yeah, it's been that journey. It's that kind of journey whereby a lot happens, and it's by God's grace. That I would say. Even the Trump's win, it's by God's grace. I think it had gotten to a point where, like, if Trump doesn't win, I don't know. It had gotten to a point whereby you're even afraid to be a Christian. It's even a sin because of the woke culture. It's even a sin to be a Christian because of the woke culture and those ideas that are against Christian values. So those are some of the things that if you have to look at them and you're like, no, I didn't grow up with these values. You can't force down these values on me. And it's so hard, especially now with the cancel culture, which is, I think, very huge. It's so hard for you to be a Christian. It was so hard to be a Christian. I think it's time now we can freely speak our minds. It's time now I can say, I'm not for this. This is not my idea. I'm not, this, you, there are certain things that are not Christian values, and I feel we were too afraid to speak, and I felt like faith had been suppressed to a large extent. And now, when I'm looking at things, I'm saying it's by God's grace that it's when you say like it happened by God, it was by God's grace that Trump won.
Amen. Absolutely, God moved His hand. It was amazing.
Yeah,
what He did for us. And
so God did.
Yeah, God did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so what's your message to people that, a lot of people in this country don't know the impact, and you've shared a lot about the impact of this election and how important it is to you. But what's your message to people out there that the difference now, like the direction of your country, like where do you think that your country's going to head now because of this election?
One thing, if the biggest win that is going to happen, and especially now that most of our voices had been suppressed in terms of, a win for Trump is a win against globalists. So once you remove globalists in small countries, in small economies like Kenya, it means we are able to thrive. And if we are able to thrive, because we are a country that has a big farming land, we are a country that it was moving from a third world country to a growing nation. But now, because of since Kamala got in and all that, we had been moved now to a country of demonstrations every day and all that. So we believe all the external interference that was against us, because all these policies that are being made, they were being pushed by the globalists on Kenyans, like the vaccinations. It's an idea that has been pushed for a long time. So I believe we are going to have a healthy nation. That's one thing I believe, because when we are not having people like Bill Gates poisoning our bodies, the Kenyan bodies of, or even the bodies of our kids with whatever vaccines they think of every day, and also when we are not having likes of Bill Gates affecting our food system, then it means as a nation we are able to grow. So the win for Trump, it means we've been freed from a prison whereby we couldn't grow. We could only grow according to what the level that globalists want us to be. So we were in a prison, and I think right now we won't be in a prison anymore for the globalists. So I believe a win for Trump is going to make Kenya a nation that, when you look at the economy, it should start growing. Remember, our economy has stagnated for the last 4 years at 5%. Our GDP has not grown beyond 5%. So I believe right now we could see a significant change by next year, over 7%, and probably a 10 to 15% as the years progresses when Trump is in power. So we are going to expect a healthy nation.
Amen. Yeah, I think that's great. I don't know if people know how bad it's gotten in Kenya with under this leadership of Ruto, but I know you have we have a mutual friend that we were talking to, Maverick Ioko, and if you could share a little bit about her persecution and what was going on over there, and just the kind of level of persecution you guys. I didn't get negative, but just the kind of level of persecution that she was facing.
Yeah. So she's one of the voices that are very vocal against. She's a whistleblower against all the government deals and all the government deals that are made without the knowledge of Kenyans. Her name is Maverick Kaoko. And she was, when the demonstrations of Gen Zs like 2 months ago started, she was arrested, and because of mistreatment, she got a child miscarriage while while she was being held in the police cells. She got a miscarriage. She was released because there was no case. We've gotten to a point whereby, as a Kenyan, you can't speak the truth against the regime. You can't say what's really happening, because once you speak, you are likely to be arrested. But that's not something that has stopped the Kenyans, because if everyone is speaking, it means that you can't arrest all the Kenyans. That's a thing for sure. So Maverick Kaoko, she's one of the big voices on the Kenyan Twitter space, and she speaks on the heels of what government is doing against the citizen. So as we are speaking right now, she was arrested like 2 to 3 weeks ago. She was. These are not arrests; these are abductions, because you can't. We have to push for hashtags for people to be produced by the police. But the information that we are getting, she hasn't spoken to the public yet since her latest abduction, because like you just be in your house and you hear a knock on the door and you're abducted. That's it's been crazy. You would be walking on the street just straight from the gym. There was another guy called Rono who was also abducted. So abductions have been the biggest issue in the country. And the reason even why we are calling for recall of Meg Whitman, the US ambassador, is she is comfortable with that. She has not spoken against it. She's mingling with the internal politics, which is also a challenge. Which is also a challenge for us, because if the international community is against an arrest, the government practices some level of restraints. So someone like Maverick Aoko, she hasn't spoken to the public so far, but the family has said she's recovering since her latest abduction. For the last 3 weeks, she had been abducted, but you are yet to get more information. So that has been the state. You speak something saying this government is doing this and this and it's wrong, you are abducted. They want to suppress free speech. You can't say anything.
Wow.
It's the situation that we are in. When we see Trump getting in, and they're like, now we have an international community that is resilient. We have an international community that can call out something like abductions. But the international, the US embassy, what we've known, the international community is always stand against things like abductions. But the current one doesn't stand against such, which is
That's good. I think we would be in that position if we had Kamala in for 4 more years. We would definitely get to that point in this country. I'm glad that we were able to make a kind of change here, and I would love to see how we can kind of once we've cleaned house in our country a little bit, how we can kind of help Kenya be a little bit more of a freer country, because that's what a strong leadership in America does. It's good for the whole world.
Amen. Well, CJ, any final thoughts or anything you want to add?
Let me just show you the front page of our newspaper for this edition. Here we're at the Spark. So we're here in Indian River County, and we're just trying to get out some of the facts about having a constitutional county. We have 5 constitutional counties in Florida right now. So we're looking to expand that, get more constitutional counties to make a proclamation that their county is a constitutional sanctuary, it's a constitutional haven, that it will follow your constitutional rights no matter what. We have Alex Newman working on that, putting together some information on that. If you want to get your county into that bill of ordinance, let us know. Right here is our email. And also the Flame is doing some amazing things too. Here's their front page of their newspaper as well. So we're just going to keep gathering news. We got to kind of press forwards. We got to enjoy this moment of a Trump victory, but we have our work cut out for us. We got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of people need to be fired out of the government for the last 4 years of mismanagement and just overall globalist agendas that have not been good for America. We've done a lot of work to get to this point right here, and we feel like we needed to do a lot more just to get back to where we need to be for America, for Kenya, and for the whole world. So, yeah.
Awesome. And so, Kali, how can people follow you or support you? What can we do to support you?
Mostly, I share most of my ideas and thoughts on my X space, on my Twitter, which is Kenya Daima, and through CJ, the Spark News, which we are hoping to do also a lot of things, and also the collaboration of the American people understanding also this other part of the world, how we also affected by the decisions that have been made there. So I'll always try to make contributions through Spark News on what is happening, not what the media wants to show you, like citizen journalism, what's generally happening. So basically, for me, the other work that we've been doing, we have a group on Telegram, which is Kenyans for Trump, which I will share also the link to it, so that people out there can understand this is how you can reach us to us. And you can reach out to me on Telegram, which is also on this one, Kenya Daima. And basically, we can discuss more. The support we are looking for is the resilience of the Americans and them understanding their decisions also affect not just them, but also the people who are here. And on the last thing I wanted to tell the American people, thank you for voting in Trump. It means a lot to Kenyans and also the world. That's
Amen.
what I believe.
And it's M Kenya Daima?
Yeah.
And what does that mean? The translation?
M is M Kenya means a Kenyan, and Daima means forever. So it's it has been my username for, I don't know, for a long minute now. And yeah, it's basically, I always advocate for what is good for our country, and it's good. I'm also connecting with other people who are advocating for what is good for the world.
And that's your X handle, right?
Yeah, it's my X handle. You can check it.
M Kenya Dama.
That's I've written it there, and
Okay.
it's the shorter version of M Kenya Daima. And yeah, the display name is Mkenya Daima, and the username is Mkenya MZI.
All right. Well, Kali Kamanzi, right?
Yeah. I'm Kali Kimanzi. I'm a software engineer here in Nairobi, and I always advocate. I also got into activism because once you start seeing injustice, you can't help it, if you know. And one thing about Christians is when you look out through the history, we've been always fighting injustice. Take whatever time, you'll see we've always been fighting injustice. Christians they advocated for the end of slave trade. If we move back to then, and all the evil in the society, I think Christians, we've been in the forefront of that, and those are the values that I've always stood for. So I can't stand and watch my country burn. That has always been, I think.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your fight for freedom and what you're doing out there. I know it's getting tough, and we got to win. That'll help us all out right now. But we thank you for what you're doing out there for your
I was,
Kenyan
I was
Trump.
like, I was like, I don't know what will happen if Trump doesn't win, because most of us, we were there supporting Trump, and it was visible and it was known, and we're like, if Trump doesn't win, then this regime is going to go extremely hard on us. It's already hard on us, but the current regime of Ruto is going to go really hard on us, because now they will no one to check them out.
Yeah, and Obama's no friend of Kenya, man. He's not really nice to them, man. It hasn't been good for them. So
yeah.
All right. Well, CJ, the Spark News, the Floridian Fire is your username. So follow the Floridian Fire and check out the Spark News. Thank you, brother, for being here. Thank you for introducing me to Kali, the M Kenyan Dama, the Kenyan Forever, and that's your X handle. So God bless you both. God bless you guys for watching, and continue to get on the ark.